Tony, welcome to Noise11.com. It's very exciting to see another Avalanches album. We didn't have to wait 15 years for this one, so I was very impressed.
Thank you very much. I don't think anyone was as impressed as we were that we got it out so quickly.
It's weird, isn't it? You go 5 years in between albums and it does feel like you've rushed one out.
I know. It's crazy, but we definitely had the intention of never wanting to wait 16 years again. But it's really funny. It just all depends on the context, because I remember I was listening to something and it was like Apple Music or one of those. Sorry, I don't know if I should say that, but it was like something very current, and they were like, "Oh my God, it's been like 2 years since your last record. What have you been doing in that time? That's so long." And it's like, what are you people on? That's like 2 years is nothing, man. That's like insane. So yes, very happy that it only took 4 years. So Wildflower was 2000. Don't add another year onto us. So yeah, we're very happy about that. Really excited.
Do you realise that when the third AC/DC album came along, it was only 18 months into when they did the first one?
Oh wow, yeah. That was the way back then. Like the Beatles were just slamming. I think the Beatles did 10 albums in 7 years, I think.
13 in 7 years.
13 in 7. Oh, my God. Yeah. I mean, that's just insane. I remember reading things about, because I was very much a Beatles, I mean, I still am a Beatles fan, and reading, so they'd be touring or whatever, and then, Epstein would go, "Guys, you've got 2 weeks to write a record and then 2 weeks to record it, and then we're releasing it," and that's it. So they had 2 weeks to write a whole record and then 2 weeks to record it. And you just think about that and you think that's just, those guys were running on some insane creative juices. And even I think one of the Stones albums, it was maybe Exile in Main Street. I think they did they rented a house in Marseille or something, or a studio, and did that one in 2 weeks. And you just hear about those things and blows my mind, really blows my mind.
Yeah, crazy stuff. I think my favourite Avalanches story, because people are going to refer to the albums, they're going to refer to the songs, they're going to refer to the samples or the guests. Mine, I'll refer to the ferry. Do you remember the launch in Melbourne, the ferry ride on the bay for the first album?
I do.
Do you want to apologise now for the beer running out while we were stuck out in the middle of the bay?
Oh my God. How un-Australian. Hey, I would have been the most pissed off guy there. Don't you worry about that.
Hey, could you imagine a boat full of media and music industry people, and the beer runs out? But not only does the beer run out, you're on a ferry in the middle of the bay.
And you can't restock. That's horrible. I apologise on behalf of the band. That is unacceptable. I actually don't remember that. And I imagine I would have been banging on the counter. Where's the management? Who's running this show? I would have been as upset as everyone else.
Yeah. Let's get into the origins of We Will Always Love You, the album. And I'll go back to the title track, because that was our first introduction to the record. That came earlier in the year. How close to that was
a long time ago now?
Yeah. Had COVID happened at that point?
No, I think it might have just happened in China, but it was, I think that came out January 29th. So the whole plan was, we were going to have that come out, and then Running Red Lights, which came out in March, and then the album come out May. And obviously, between, I think, what was it, like February, maybe COVID struck here, and, it obviously struck around the world sooner than that, and it just kind of delayed so many plans. And it was more just, we were almost done anyway, and we were all set to go, but it's the vinyl pressing plants and all the CD manufacturing and all that stuff, everything just kind of closed down. So the record company didn't want to release anything without actually having a product to buy, because not everything is just about streaming and the online services. So that kind of ruined the plans. But in a way, it was nice that during lockdown, at least we got something to do, that we were able to put out a few more singles and do that and keep active while we were stuck in our homes for 23 hours a day, which is in jail terms solitary confinement.
Well, the second track that you mentioned there, Running Red Lights, is with Rivers Cuomo. How did the recording of that come about? Did he do his bits and send it to you, or were you all in the studio? How did it work?
Yeah, that was one of the first songs that we got the vocal, if not the first song that we got the vocal back for. And I think we got in contact with him through management. We obviously love Weezer, and he's just got that just beautiful kind of melancholy way about the way he sings, his melodies, and just a great hit writer. And we just thought this song would be perfect for him. And he ended up just sending, through his assistant back a spreadsheet of 3 different, I guess you could say, choruses. And they were different lyrics, and he was like, just choose one that you want and I'll record it for you and, send it. And we were like, could we hear the melodies for each one? So then he ended up sending us back the melodies with that accompanied the lyrics, the 3 different ones. And they were all great. They were all amazing. So we just said, can we use all 3? And he's like, sure, go for it. So, we ended up using all 3. There was obviously the chorus, the Running Red Lights bit, and then there was the California life is all right. And then there was the verse bit. So we were able to work all 3 into the song. So we're glad that he was very giving in that. And we ended up meeting him when they were supporting the Foo Fighters. Was it last year maybe? And we were like, we're going to meet Rivers Cuomo, and we've got to show him the good side of Melbourne. And we were Googling all these cool bars and all this really cool stuff to do. And, it took half the day doing that. And we're really going to impress this guy. And then we ended up, it was a rainy Melbourne day, and all he wanted to do was just walk around with umbrellas in the rain. And then we stopped in at a Starbucks, drank some coffees and chatted for an hour, and then walked back to his hotel, and that was it. And in a way, that was just so much cooler than any cool thing we could have thought about doing with him. It was just a really kind of just summed up his personality to me. Yeah, that was a good moment.
Did you get to come face to face with Leon Bridges for Interstellar Love?
Robbie did, because Robbie was over in LA at the time. So he worked with him quite closely. I think the song was quite undeveloped, and they just kind of went in there, and he was just shooting me back videos of oh, what about this bit? And but apparently he's just a really warm and open dude, he's from Texas, so they've got that real southern kind of hospitality vibe about them. There's a politeness and everything, and he's just apparently a really amazing dude. And we just did that thing with the sound at the planetarium, and he recorded his bit in a studio in Texas. So he's another one that's just, we're always grateful that these people are so giving. We really appreciate that. You get something like that from Rivers, or that Leon will just take time out to do a performance for us, a recorded performance for an Australian TV show, and we always just think, isn't that amazing that someone would do that for you? We're very grateful for all that stuff.
Yeah, because when I look at the lineup of this record, Jamie XX, Neneh Cherry, Kurt Vile, Mick Jones, Perry Farrell, Johnny Marr, MGMT, Tricky, Blood Orange, Sananda Maitreya, a.k.a. Terence Trent D'Arby.
Terence Trent D'Arby, yeah.
Look at this lineup. You couldn't afford to book this lineup for a music festival.
No. What a great idea that is. Imagine doing just a music festival of all the different
around one album.
Around one album. That's good because it's so eclectic. It'd be actually a great day. It's an amazing list we've got, and each time that we had, say, I think we were in Sydney and we'd just done a DJ set somewhere. And then our manager just emailed us or called and said, hey, guess what? Mick Jones has just sent back some vocals. And we just look at each other like, what the hell? We didn't, of all, and it was like, he was one that that normally there'll be, it's either we reach out or the management will reach out. And with Mick, it had been, we'd sent him something that we thought he'd be great on. And we just didn't hear anything back. So it was one of those, but then the one thing we did hear back was the actual music, that he'd done something. So it wasn't even a management saying, oh yeah, he'll have a listen or whatever. So it was totally unexpected and such a great surprise to, and just that iconic voice in the track. It's amazing. Yeah.
So Sanandra, people always say, whatever happened to Terence Trent D'Arby? And when people say that to me, I say, well, go and have a listen to what he's actually doing now as under his name, Sanandra. Like the amount of music that he has put out over the years, I mean, some remarkable stuff in there. How did you get in contact with him?
I think I think it might have been a slipping into the DMs through Instagram. I think that was Robbie who did that. And he is obviously his voice is amazing. I still listen to that song, and I listened to it the other day and just thought, this guy, there are some iconic great voices on this record, but this guy seriously has one of the best voices I think I've ever heard. It's just creamy and amazing. And he's just a real character. And some of the emails the back and forth emails between him are pretty amazing. He's almost got this beat poet crossed with Shakespeare. He's like a poet in just the way he writes emails. And you get something back from him, and it's like a work of art, just an email. He's very eccentric. And yeah, it was just an honor to work with him, and that still is one of my favorite tracks, that one.
Explain what your meaning of death, the afterlife, stars, celestial beings, as I've heard the concept of this album described by. What's the personal meaning to you in those phrases together?
I think it started off as it did start off as a personal thing, like from an inward thing for us. So it was, it was the weight of letting go of Wildflower, of 16 years of all that pressure. It was the weight of just, and kind of around that same time of letting go, we were learning about things like, Alan Watts and getting into meditation and all that stuff. So it was letting go of the weight of the baggage of our mind as well. So it was just about, being light, and that was the word that we kind of started with in it. And so it was just a personal journey of being light from inside. And then that kind of got just more expressed into the more esoteric of we're all beings of light, and, everything's made of energy, and, and just the idea of sampling, and how we could get a record from, say, the 1940s. And it's like, we're working with a ghost, because that person is not around anymore, but they're in spirit, their voice is on our track, or a recorded violin or something. So we kind of got into this whole idea of spirits and everything like that, and how, all the recordings and everything is, of planet Earth is still kind of out there. And so we just started, it just kind of evolved from that and into this deeper kind of cosmos thing. And then we heard about the Golden Record, which was put on the Voyager spacecraft, and which is an amazing story. And it was just so the whole idea of that was that it was like a mixtape from Earth, and it was just going to go out to Voyager. Just, it had no target. It was just set out to last 1 billion years. And if any intelligent life form discovered it, they would have an idea of what Earth was about. So there were greetings in 59 different languages, and a mother talking to her baby. And so Anne Drurian was the lady who put it together, and she was not at the time, but so her idea was to get her brainwaves and her heartbeat recorded at a hospital. And 2 days before that, Carl Sagan asked her to marry him. So she was very much in love at the time, and her whole idea was, when her brainwaves and everything were recorded, that any intelligent life might not only be able to hear that and interpret that but be able to interpret her thoughts about what she was actually thinking, because she thought they might be so advanced they can take her brainwaves and not listen to them as just a sound or a bleeping or whatever they would come up as, but be able to understand this woman who was completely in love. And we just found that a fascinating story. So it just all developed from that. And obviously, like Anne, her face is on the cover of the record, so it's just a nice tie-in with all that.
You virtually
hope that makes sense.
You virtually explained E equals MC squared. Energy equals mass and light, and when the mass goes by death, the light continues.
Yes. So anyway, it all kind of it started inside and kind of from there went everywhere.
Well, one final one. We've got to let you go because we're running out of time. But Alarm 115. Did you ever record as Alarm 115?
Yeah, not in a proper studio, but there were might have been some 4-track demos. I don't know where they'd be, but we had one song called Karate Party. I remember that. Yeah, we did have some tapes. I don't know how we were recording back then. I don't even know if we had a 4-track. I think we might have just had literally a cassette player and press record while we were jamming in the lounge room. And we didn't have – I think we rehearsed a couple of times with a drummer, but it was mainly just Robbie, Darren and I with guitars, 2 guitars and bass just in the lounge room. So never recorded properly, which is a bit of a shame because it would have been fun to listen to now.
Well, if you ever decide to do a pub gig under Alarm 115, do let me know. I'd love to come along and watch it.
No worries, Paul. We'll do. And promise if we ever have another launch again that we can actually invite people, which would have been nice this time, the beer will not run out.
Tony, thanks for joining us here at Noise 11.
Right. Cool. Thank you, Paul.